These are two basketball legends whose careers intertwined in ways that forever changed how we measure greatness.
Curry looking for that opening. Steps back. Crossover. Fires away. Wow! Another three by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. 7 to shoot. Curry. Deep one. Bullseye.
Commitment that this guy has shown. Let me shut up.
James off the steal. James with the stop. James trying to harass Curry. Curry off the dribble. Layup off the glass.
Doesn't look like it.
James pulls up. Puts it in. 4-point lead. Clock winding down. Curry's going to have to put it up. Launches it up. Shot clock. Oh, he knocked.
LeBron James accumulated over 38,000 career points across 2 decades of dominance. But Steph Curry's revolutionary three-point shooting didn't just change basketball, it completely rewrote the conversation about what makes a player truly great. When LeBron entered the league in 2003, the blueprint for basketball immortality seemed crystal clear. You needed to be physically dominant, versatile, and capable of taking over games through sheer athletic superiority. LeBron embodied this perfectly. A 6 9 inches freight train who could play every position, chase down blocks, and bulldoze through defenses. He was basketball's ultimate specimen, combining size, speed, and basketball IQ in ways we'd never seen before. But then came Curry, standing just 6'3" inches and weighing barely 185 pounds. Steph Curry looked like someone's little brother who wandered onto an NBA court. When he was drafted in 2009, 6 years after LeBron's arrival, nobody predicted he would become the catalyst for a basketball revolution that would overshadow some of LeBron's greatest achievements. The first crack in LeBron's legacy armor came through pure mathematics. While LeBron was methodically building his case as the most complete player ever, averaging impressive numbers across every statistical category, Curry was quietly rewriting the record books in the most valuable category of all, scoring efficiency. Looking at their current season performance tells the story perfectly. Curry, at 36 years old, is averaging 28.8 points per game on ridiculous efficiency, 46.7% from the field, 39.8% from three-point range, and an elite 64.2 true shooting percentage. Meanwhile, LeBron, who's 5 years older, is putting up 20.9 points per game with a 58.5 true shooting percentage. The gap isn't even close. But these numbers only scratch the surface of how Curry completely altered basketball's landscape in ways that made some of LeBron's greatest strengths suddenly seem less impressive. Remember LeBron's signature move, the chase down block? It became iconic because it showcased his unique combination of court vision, athleticism, and defensive awareness. But Curry made that move largely irrelevant by pulling up from 30 feet before anyone could even think about getting back in transition. You can't chase down what you can't catch. The three-point revolution Curry sparked didn't just change how basketball was played, it changed how we evaluate greatness entirely. Suddenly, the ability to space the floor and create efficient offense became more valuable than the ability to bully your way to the rim. Curry's gravity, his ability to warp defenses just by stepping on the court, became the new standard for impact that doesn't show up in traditional box scores. This shift in basketball philosophy exposed something uncomfortable about LeBron's game. Despite being an excellent three-point shooter in bursts, LeBron's career 34.8% from beyond the arc looks pedestrian in Curry's universe. In their head-to-head matchups, LeBron has averaged impressive numbers: 30.2 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 7.3 assists across 27 games. But those performances often felt like swimming upstream against the current of basketball evolution that Curry was creating. The playoff battles between their teams tell an even more revealing story. When LeBron's Cavaliers faced Curry's Warriors in back-to-back finals, it wasn't just about individual supremacy, it was about competing philosophies of basketball excellence. LeBron represented the traditional model: get the best athlete, surround him with solid players, and let his versatility solve problems. Curry represented the future: perfect your craft to such an extreme that you bend the entire game around your presence. LeBron won one of those finals series, completing the greatest comeback in NBA history. But even that triumph felt like winning a battle while losing the war. The basketball world had seen the future, and it looked more like Curry than LeBron. Teams didn't start trying to find their own LeBron James, they started hunting for their own Stephen Curry. The cultural impact extended far beyond the court. LeBron had carefully crafted his image as basketball's ultimate student, the player who could adapt to any situation and solve any basketball problem. But Curry's rise suggested that maybe supreme versatility wasn't the highest form of basketball evolution. Maybe the future belonged to players who were so transcendent at one thing that everything else became secondary. Consider how this affected the greatest of all-time conversation. Before Curry, LeBron seemed destined to eventually surpass Michael Jordan in most people's minds. He had the longevity, the versatility, the clutch moments, and the social impact. But Curry introduced a new variable into the equation. What happens when someone completely rewrites the sport itself? Jordan didn't just dominate his era, he defined it. LeBron dominated multiple eras but seemed to be constantly chasing trends rather than setting them. First, he was chasing Kobe's scoring mentality, then he was adapting to the pace and space revolution. Meanwhile, Curry wasn't adapting to trends, he was creating them from scratch. The numbers support this narrative in subtle but important ways. While LeBron accumulated more total career points, rebounds, and assists, Curry's per-game efficiency metrics tell a different story about peak performance. Curry's 92.8% free throw shooting this season, compared to LeBron's 67.8%, represents more than just technical skill. It represents the kind of precision and perfectionism that defines the modern game. Even their team's success reflects this dynamic. LeBron built his championships through calculated moves, joining super teams, and leveraging his influence to create favorable situations. Curry's championships felt more organic, more inevitable, like the natural result of basketball evolution reaching its logical conclusion. One approach showcased basketball intelligence, the other showcased basketball destiny. The injury factor adds another layer to this story. LeBron's durability and longevity have been legendary, but they've also become a double-edged sword in the Curry era. Playing longer means more opportunities for decline, more chances for younger players to showcase superior efficiency, and more reminders that time eventually defeats everyone. Curry's more conservative approach to his body and playing style has allowed him to maintain peak performance deeper into his 30s. The international impact can't be ignored either. LeBron globalized basketball through his personality and activism, but Curry globalized it through pure basketball magic. Kids around the world started shooting from impossible distances because they saw Curry make it look effortless. You can teach LeBron's work ethic and basketball IQ, but you can't teach Curry's shot-making ability. One inspired dedication, the other inspired dreams. The advanced analytics revolution also worked in Curry's favor. As basketball moved toward understanding true shooting percentage, offensive rating, and net rating, Curry's impact became more quantifiable and more obviously superior. LeBron's impact was always obvious, but it was also more traditional. Curry's impact required new mathematics to fully appreciate, and once those measurements became mainstream, his superiority became undeniable. Perhaps most damaging to LeBron's legacy was how Curry made championship building look effortless. LeBron's titles required years of planning, dramatic roster moves, and carefully orchestrated situations. Curry's titles felt inevitable once the pieces were in place. This made LeBron's championship struggles seem more like personal shortcomings and less like the natural difficulty of winning in the NBA. The narrative around clutch performance also shifted dramatically. LeBron built his reputation on rising to the occasion in crucial moments, but Curry redefined what clutch could look like. Instead of powering through contact for difficult shots, Curry simply pulled up from 30 feet with defenders draped all over him. The degree of difficulty was different, but the impossibility was the same, and Curry did it with a smile that made it look easy. As both players enter the twilight of their careers, the contrast becomes even starker. LeBron's declining athleticism is evident in his reduced scoring and efficiency, while Curry continues to defy logic with his shooting precision. This season's numbers, Curry's 28.8 points per game versus LeBron's 20.9, represent more than just aging curves. They represent the difference between a player fighting time and a player transcending it. The cruel irony is that LeBron's greatness made Curry's revolution possible. LeBron's versatility and basketball IQ pushed the sport toward greater sophistication, creating the intellectual framework that allowed someone like Curry to emerge and redefine excellence. LeBron elevated basketball's ceiling, but Curry blew the roof off entirely. Looking back, Curry didn't just compete with LeBron, he made LeBron's style of dominance feel outdated. Where LeBron represented the pinnacle of basketball's physical evolution, Curry represented its spiritual evolution. One showed us how great basketball could be when played by the perfect athlete. The other showed us how transcendent basketball could be when played by the perfect shooter. In the end, LeBron James will retire as one of the greatest players in basketball history, with statistics and achievements that may never be matched. But he'll also retire knowing that Steph Curry completely changed the conversation about what basketball greatness looks like, and in that new conversation, LeBron's particular brand of excellence suddenly seemed like a relic from a different era. That might be the cruelest cut of all, not being forgotten, but being remembered as the player who was great just before greatness itself was redefined.